Total War 40k is finally here, folks, and today I'm going to be showcasing the gamescon exclusive build, and we're going to be playing as the Space Marines and going over the very first look of the campaign. The amount of customization is absolutely incredible. You can basically make the colors of all your armies to whichever you want it to be. As you can see, the color set here, there is a wide variety of what is actually available, but they have mentioned that within this build, they've reduced the actual customization because they wanted to avoid players spending 90% of their time creating their characters before they started the campaign, because at Gamescon, they'll have a limited time of which you can play this one. And so obviously keep in mind, this is not the full-fledged game. This is a very small subsection of the campaign, just to get a feel and experience of what it's actually like. The biggest question mark that I had when it came to playing Total War 40k is, how are they going to handle the sheer scale of what 40k is? And it looks like they've gone down the route of having star systems alongside planets within said star system. And I suspect there'll be multiple different star systems within a general campaign. Today, we only have the one star system to demonstrate and showcase, and as you can see, there is tons and tons of planets within the surrounding area here, and this is the approach that they've taken when it comes to how do we evangelize this at scale. Now, the planets have quite a lot of interactable things within it. As you can see here, there is a random unit in which I can grab if I walk over to it. Alongside this, you can see that there are garrison units inside of the settlements in which you control, and there's infrastructure in which you can build, although within this build, we didn't have access to any of the relevant infrastructure buildings in there, so we couldn't build anything or explore the infrastructure too much. But do know that I'm sure that in a later build, we'll be able to showcase what that looks like. And as you can see here, we're going to be walking over to the Land Raider and pick up the freebie of a unit. It does look like on these campaigns you'll have options and decision making relating to how you path towards specific objectives, because you want to make sure that you're maximizing the value out of the planets that you've landed into and the solar systems that you've found yourself in. And these are obviously resources. You'll have a minor upgrade available, and it'll tell you exactly what you can do there. As you saw, we just simply recruited it. Alongside this one, as you can see here, there are infrastructure buildings of, it looks like, military, generalized infrastructure district, and it looks like the province potential upgrades here. Next up, let's talk about one of the most important things that we've seen so far, and that is the influence. This is the prominence of how prominent you are in a given star system. So this is a wide scale population public order. And this is something that you've got to be very conscious of when it comes to being in these star systems. Every single action that you take may have critical implications towards the inhabitants of that planet. As you can see here, we're starting off as Admire with Univar, and she is a big fan of us thus far. By having Admire, you can see that we're gaining 20 renown every single turn. And within this one, you can see that the renown ranks will significantly increase depending if you're winning battles against the enemies of the Imperium and maintaining good relations with the planetary's representations. As you can see, these are the ones that we can see here, and you need to make sure that you're generating good influence every single turn. Now, we'll have to wait and see how this transpires, because it could be a thing where you want suspicion to be high and you want renown to be high and you want to try and find a perfect balance there. This is a very early implementation of it, so it's hard to say at this point. But as a general rule of thumb in Total Wars, the more that the people like you in the surrounding area, the easier your life will be to avoid rebellions and things like this. We don't know if that's the case, but it definitely seems a good idea to keep people on side. And now we're going to jump into bombing this capital for whatever reason. As you can see, this is one of the ones that we talked about relating to the influence, in which can massively, dramatically impact your ability to be liked by people in the surroundings. But you can see that the orcs didn't really get that damage, so it didn't really seem that worth it. Now, loading in, you can see the pink girly girls. It's not Slanesh. I want to make sure that's clear. I'm not Slanesh. It's just very cute and very pink. Because why not, hey? When it comes to color selections, you can do whatever you fancy. You can evangelize or do whatever you want when it comes to the color schemes within the battle. But we've decided to jump into this one, and as you can see on the bottom middle right, we have multiple different abilities. One of the things that's within the battles to mention here, you can see all bottom left, there's a ton of different army abilities. We have provided feedback that it's not very apparent that they're there. It's quite easy to forget about them. But you can see as well the movement keys is vastly different. So your movement ability is very different in relation to you can't alt left click, so you can't move all your units in a very, very, very bespoke manner. You have to just sort of right click and drag them to be in position. Now this may be because of the fact that console is a thing as well. I just don't know with that, but you can see here are all the options. I was basically trying to figure out if I was able to leverage alt left click, but you can see, yeah, there's not that much when it comes to the options here. It is nice that alt right click is melee attack, just so there's a little bit more of a button, so you don't have to press F to change your to toggle it. You can basically keep them in range mode, but tell them to go melee stuff, which is very, very nice. I think I'm just testing out the keybinds here, but you can see. Let me jump into the army abilities in a second. Now let's talk about every single army ability we have in this demo. We have the Assault Doctrine, Tactical Doctrine, the Devastator Doctrine, Land Strikes as we saw, Cluster Bombs, and Can't Die. All of these have a very bespoke purpose depending on what's happening inside of the battlefield, but you can see that the likes of the Devastator Doctrine, the Assault Doctrine, and the Tactical Doctrine, you can only use one at a time because it effectively puts a global cooldown once one is used. So the second you use it, you have to wait for that to expire to then use another one. You can't stack them all on top of each other, otherwise it would be absolutely bonkers. But as you can see, generally speaking, it really depends on the situation in the battle and what you need to be reactive towards. If you're being attacked in melee, obviously the Assault Doctrine is very, very potent to try and fight that. If you're wanting to have better accuracy within the range units you have in your line, Tactical Doctrine is really good. If you're wanting to try and do as much damage as possible to units as far away as possible, obviously the Devastator Doctrine is really useful, but it purely depends on the range of your units at that time, because it might not make sense if it's just a very, very, very short range flamethrower to give them Devastator Doctrine. It's not going to help too much. I think it's important to mention that buffs and debuffs on a battlefield is still very much real. If you have units that are within the water, you will be slowed down, as you can see here. But also at the same time, you have visual indicators when your characters are in cover, and this is a tiered cover as well. If whatever you're hiding in has been demolished or destroyed, you will then receive reductions in the level of potency your cover of those units will have. Thank you so very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. This video, I wanted to make sure I made it as short as possible because your time is valuable, and I wanted to demonstrate and go through a very high level of what we can see within the demo. And I'll be covering more of this content, so please do make sure to subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.